Welcome to my presentation of fast food or fast fat for Edit 7500 Fall 2014. After observing many parents bring students lunch from various fast food restaurants instead of purchasing a well-balanced school lunch or even packing one from home, I was concerned with what students actually thought was a well-balanced meal. Because I was a fifth grade teacher for the past 7 years, I felt like this grade level was most appropriate to work with. I'm currently a media specialist at a K-8 school, and because we are having a new building constructed, we are stretched for space. I have several gifted classes that share a space in one of my media center corners. I asked the fifth grade gifted teacher to allow me to use her kids as guinea pigs. She was delighted and agreed. The standards that I covered were GPS, Health 5.5. Students will demonstrate the ability to use decision-making skills to enhance health. I used English Language Arts core curriculum, 5th grade, writing 8. Recall relevant information from experiences or gather relevant information from print and digital sources. Summarize or paraphrase information. ELA Common Core 5 W6 with some guidance and support from adults using technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing. And the loading tab, the loading was 4B, integration, routine. Students are fully engaged in exploring real-world issues and solving authentic problems using the available digital and environmental resources. Throughout this project, the students are going to be they're going to be researching the fast food establishment websites. They'll be recording data, determining what important events to include in a presentation about healthy food choices. They'll be using Google Docs and spreadsheets created by a teacher to organize data and information. They're going to use the information gathered on these documents and spreadsheets to create a Google presentation. And finally, they will present their information to the class orally using their Google presentation. The technology that the students will be using are Chromebooks in the Media Center, which is in also the gifted classroom, from the COW, which is the computer on wheels. They have a cart with about 32 Chromebooks on it. We will also be using a Promethean board with a projector to use to demonstrate how to collect data, assist with any questions students might have about their research, or the presentation, and to deliver their final presentation. On the Chromebooks, the students will be using the internet, either Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Firefox, although Chrome will be the easiest to use since we are using Google Docs. And Google Docs, specifically in Google Docs, the students will be using Google Spreadsheet, Google Docs, and Google Presentations. I chose the Chromebooks because this is one of the main tools that these gifted classes have been using in the way of technology. They are also very quick to boot up. It only takes between 7 and 9 seconds to actually boot up and be ready to use. I began this project by showing the students the web page that I designed specifically for their project. Instead of giving them a long URL, I created a tiny URL, posted it on the board, as well as sharing it in a Google Doc for them. This is my website for them is the integration project, Fast Food or Fast Fact. I explained how the directions are placed right here on this page for them. But to begin, they are to view a YouTube video placed on this web page. I also let them know that I had shared each step's documents in their Google Drive. Here is my web page that I designed specifically for them. It shows the YouTube video there at the beginning that they are to view. Shows them step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and it even has a copy of the rubric at the very bottom. Here is the YouTube video that I asked them to view prior to beginning any work on this actual project. You can just go to YouTube and do a search for Fast Food Commercials USA. It just shows a variety of different fast foods and foods that these establishments actually carry. Our school district has provided an email and a Google Drive for each staff member as well as every student. For most people to access the Google Drive, they must log in from the Google website as seen here. But for our district, technology support has designed a secure login as seen here on the right, or on the left, sorry. Once in the drive, I explained to the students that they must make a copy of each of the documents that I shared with them and rename them by using their names at the beginning of the document. Step 1 is where they will actually visit the fast food restaurant website and choose a meal to include. This meal must include a main dish, a side dish, a dessert, and a beverage. The main dish examples would be a sandwich. A side dish example could be fries or a side salad. Dessert example would be a cookie or a brownie, and a beverage to drink. For step 2, this is where the students will document what they have found on their Google spreadsheet. For each item on their meal menu, they are required to list the number of calories and fat calories. Once they have these two items, they must make sure to create the correct formula in the column for non-fat calories. This formula is basically the fat calories in column C subtracted from the calories in column B. The next column, column E, is the percentage of fat and it has a formula of the fat calories divided by the total calories. Students will also need to create a formula for the sum of each of these columns. Once they complete those steps, they are ready to move on to step 3. In this step, they are to complete the step 3 document by answering questions about their spreadsheet created in step 2. Step 4 requires the students to visit the 3 websites listed at the top of this document. These websites are the USDA website, ChooseMyPlate.gov website, and Nutritional Strategies website. At these websites, the students need to complete the nutritional value questions seen here in this document. At the very bottom, this set of questions require the students to list how many servings they are required daily of these different food types. The final step, step 5, is where the students will use all of the data that they have gathered to create a Google presentation. This presentation should include the criteria that is listed on the evaluation rubric. The criteria are they must have an introduction including which restaurant they chose and the items on their menu. They must summarize their findings about the meal including number of calories, percentage of fat, etc. And they may even display a copy of their chart as supporting evidence. The third criteria is they must compare and contrast their meal to another student. And finally, use the information from the recorded websites in step 4 to evaluate what they chose as their meal. How does their meal compare to a recommended meal? How could they improve their meal by making it healthier using some of the other guidelines, like example, eating more fruits? Students were encouraged to use the evaluation rubric to grade their own project. This self-evaluation helps the students see what it is that they might need to fix prior to actually presenting it to the entire class. The final presentations were presented to the entire class. Once everyone was finished presenting, I noticed a lot of conversation between the students on which place that they thought would have the healthiest meal. The students really seemed to grasp the idea that many fast food restaurants do have some healthy choices, some more than others. I chose 3 different students to showcase on my website. I have linked here the documents for steps 2, 3, and 4 and their final presentation. As you can see here on my website, I have these students, their presentations included, step 2, step 3, step 4, all their information they recorded, and then their final presentations to view on my final website. An optional addition to this project would be a field trip to one of the fast food establishments that seemed to have the healthiest choices. We were not granted a field trip by the administration due to multiple classes doing testing at this time, as well as finances. Upon reflection of this technology project, I was very frustrated, as were all of my students that I was working with, on the amount of time that it took for us to actually complete this task. We began this project in the middle of November, but had to cancel classes a number of times due to district testing, tornado watches where we were unable to move from room to room, field trips, pre-planned field trips, and even holidays like Thanksgiving and Veterans Day. We had only completed the projects this week. A couple of times we even had connectivity or Wi-Fi issues with the Chromebooks and they were not connecting. This project would have worked smoother probably with a higher grade level. This 5th grade class seemed to struggle with some of the minor steps, and I saw myself having to go back and forth. This 5th grade class seemed to struggle with some of the minor steps. This project might work better with a 7th or an 8th grade level. I was even led to believe that these students were very familiar with using Google Drive as well as their Google logins. This was true for only a couple of these students. We spent the first couple of days just maneuvering around with their logins and their Google Drive, getting them familiar with it. Overall, the students really seemed to enjoy this project, and I had a lot of fun creating these things with them. Thank you. Have a great evening.